Meet Michael. He earns $65,000 annually, has a modest $5,000 tucked away in savings, but also carries $7,200 in credit card debt. This financial snapshot places him squarely in the shoes of the average American. Over the next 90 days, Michael is embarking on a complete financial overhaul, meticulously planned journey spanning 12 weeks with one pivotal action to undertake each week. By the culmination of this 12-week transformation, Michael's net worth will be positioned for an astounding growth, over $1.4 million within the next 3 decades. Remarkably, the lion's share of this significant increase will originate from the strategic impact of just a few crucial weeks. I am Professor William Miller, and I'll be your guide, meticulously detailing every step Michael undertakes. We'll explore the tangible dollar value of each action and, crucially, pinpoint the common pitfalls where most individuals falter. Now let's delve into week 1. But first, a quick contextualization. While 90 days spans approximately 12.5 weeks, this program has been deliberately structured into 12 distinct weekly actions. This comprehensive plan addresses key financial pillars: spending habits, debt management, strategic saving, smart investing, and income enhancement. Throughout this entire journey, we'll closely monitor Michael's net worth, which begins today at a challenging negative $2,200. This initial net worth figure is derived from his $5,000 in savings, offset by his $7,200 in credit card obligations. Prepare to be surprised. Some weeks will unveil remarkable financial impact, while others might seem deceptively modest, are two very different things. For the first few years, Tyler is living the landlord's dream. The rent checks hit his bank account, to building substantial wealth, and which merely serve as essential foundational support. Week 1. The audit. This crucial first step begins with Michael settling at his kitchen table, laptop open, ready to confront his financial reality. He meticulously reviews the past 3 months of statements from every single account he holds: bank accounts, credit cards, subscription services, and any outstanding debt payments. Absolutely everything. He then systematically categorizes each expense into 3 distinct buckets. Fixed expenses. These are his non-negotiable outgoings, such as rent, utilities, car payments, insurance premiums, and even groceries. Discretionary expenses. This category encompasses anything he desires but doesn't strictly need, like dining out, shopping sprees, entertainment, and other non-essential purchases. Debt payments. This includes all funds directed towards his credit cards or other loans. Typically, at this juncture, most finance gurus would declare this week the absolute cornerstone of any financial plan, asserting that understanding your money's destination is paramount before any further action. However, the raw numbers tell a different story. The audit, in isolation, holds a direct financial value of $0. Simply knowing where your money goes, while valuable, doesn't inherently build wealth. What it unequivocally does, however, is lay the essential groundwork, making the truly wealth-generating actions of weeks 2 and 3 achievable. Therefore, the audit isn't insignificant. Rather, it's a vital enabler, not a direct earner. During his audit, Michael uncovers some illuminating insights. He realizes he spent a surprising $340 on food delivery just last month. Furthermore, he's inadvertently paying for 3 forgotten subscription services, collectively draining $47 from his account each month. And his miscellaneous category, a catch-all he'd never actively monitored, mounted to a substantial $280. It becomes clear Michael didn't have a spending problem as much as he had an awareness problem. This revelation perfectly segues into Week 2. Week 2, the trim. Armed with the insights from his audit, Michael now systematically reviews his expenses, listing them from largest to smallest. For each item, he poses a singular critical question: can I realistically reduce this by 10 to 30% within the next 90 days? Rent. A tough one. Moving isn't a simple solution right now. Insurance. He proactively calls several providers, securing a more competitive rate and shaving $90 off his monthly premium. Subscriptions. He identifies and cancels 2 forgotten services, instantly saving $25. Food delivery. Instead of constant takeout, he commits to cooking at home 3 nights a week, resulting in an estimated $200 in monthly savings. In total, Michael successfully liberates $400 each month. Crucially, these aren't cuts that feel like deprivation. Rather, they come from eliminating expenses that provided minimal value to his life in the first place. This is precisely where conventional financial wisdom often misses the mark, getting only half the picture right. You've undoubtedly heard the adage, "A dollar saved is a dollar earned." In truth, it's not quite that simple. A dollar saved and left languishing in your checking account remains, quite simply, just a dollar. However, a dollar saved and invested transforms to something profoundly different. Consider Michael's scenario. If he consistently saves $400 a month for 30 years and keeps it in a standard checking account, it would accumulate to $144,000, merely the sum of his contributions. Yet if he invests that very same $400 monthly into an S&P 500 index fund, leveraging its historical average return of 8%, that sum explodes to an impressive $596,000. Identical effort in trimming expenses, but a quadruple return due to the power of investing. The trim accomplished in week 2 represents only one half of the wealth-building equation. The other, equally vital half awaits us in week 6, but we cannot effectively reach it without first mastering the principles of week 3, automation. This week, often overlooked, stands as one of the most profoundly underrated components of this entire financial strategy. Michael initiates this week by opening a high-yield savings account, HYSA. Currently, top HYSAs offer attractive annual percentage yields, APYs, ranging from 3.8% to 4%. To put this into perspective, simply moving $10,000 from a traditional account into an HYSA could net you approximately $400 in passive interest annually, essentially free money. If your savings currently reside in a regular bank account yielding a paltry 0.01%, you are unequivocally forfeiting significant earnings. Next, Michael establishes automatic transfers. With each payday, before he even has a chance to see or spend the money, 5% of his paycheck is automatically directed to his HYSA, and another 5% is transferred to a brokerage account, which he will fully set up in week 6. Many perceive automation as merely a convenience, a pleasant optionality, rather than a core necessity. However, the data emphatically contradicts this notion. Extensive studies on saving behaviors reveal that individuals who automate their savings consistently save roughly twice as much as those who rely on manual monthly decisions. This stark difference arises because every manual choice presents an opportunity to defer saving, and life invariably supplies a convenient excuse not to. The profound significance of this week cannot be overstated. Without the protective barrier of automation, Michael's hard-won $400 monthly savings from week 2 would, almost inevitably, seep back into his spending within a mere 90 days. Lifestyle creep is a potent and swift reality. Automation acts as the critical mechanism that transforms those trimmed expenses into genuine accumulating wealth. Without it, the efforts of week 2 amount to little more than financial theater. Automation isn't the sole action that builds wealth. Rather, it's the indispensable multiplier that ensures the high-impact strategies of subsequent weeks are actually effective. Week 4, the debt plan. This week is dedicated to confronting and strategically tackling high-interest debt. Michael is saddled with $7,200 on a credit card, sporting a punishing 24% APR, a figure strikingly close to the average for Americans. He takes 2 decisive actions. First, he picks up the phone and calls Chase, his credit card provider. He articulates his case clearly. "I've been a customer for years. I always pay on time, but my interest rate is way above what other cards are offering. Can you lower it?" A mere 5-minute phone call yields an immediate result. His APR is reduced from 24% to a much more manageable 19%. This simple yet powerful step is often overlooked by most people. The worst possible outcome is a no, in which case you've only invested 5 minutes. More often than not, credit card companies prefer to retain a good customer by lowering their rate rather than losing them entirely. Second, Michael strategically adds an extra $75 each month to his minimum credit card payment. Now, this is a critical point. where I must challenge a pervasive yet deeply flawed piece of advice frequently echoed across finance YouTube. The notion that one should not rush to pay off debt, but rather invest instead, because market returns supposedly outpace interest costs. This math is not just wrong, it's catastrophically wrong. While the S&P 500 historically averages 8% to 10% annually, the average credit card APR typically hovers above 21%. Paying off a credit card, therefore, effectively delivers a guaranteed return, equivalent to that 21% interest rate you avoid. There is no investment Michael could possibly make in the stock market that offers such a high, guaranteed return, especially considering the inherent volatility and lack of guarantees in the stock market. For Michael's $7,200 debt, consistently adding $75 a month to his minimum payment will save him a remarkable 8 months. Payments and approximately $1,400 in total interest. The successful APR negotiation alone saves him an additional $500. Cumulatively, that one strategic phone call and an extra $75 monthly contribution are worth nearly $2,000 to him. This marks the completion of the crucial 4-week foundation. Let's revisit Michael's net worth tracker. He began at a daunting negative $2,200. Now, with the implemented trim, the automated savings starting to accumulate, and the accelerated debt paydown, his net worth has improved to negative $1,400 and is firmly on an upward trajectory. Part 2. Building. For Week 5, the focus shifts to establishing a $1,000 starter emergency fund. This vital sum will reside in the high-yield savings account Michael opened during Week 3, actively earning interest, while it stands ready. Regarding emergency funds, you'll encounter two strongly opposing viewpoints. One camp insists that $1,000 is woefully inadequate, advocating for 3 to 6 months' worth of expenses as the absolute minimum before any other financial endeavor. The other extreme suggests bypassing the emergency fund altogether, channeling every dollar directly into investments. Both perspectives, however, are fundamentally flawed. Let's consult the data. A staggering 59% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. Consider the implication. The majority of individuals in this country are just one unforeseen car repair, one urgent ER visit, or one broken appliance away from spiraling into further debt. A $1,000 cushion, remarkably, is sufficient to cover over 80% of the unexpected expenses Americans typically encounter. While not a complete safety net, this $1,000 fund represents the crucial distinction between capably expected problem and impulsively resorting to a credit card. This makes the initial $1,000 the highest leverage savings goal in the early stages of this plan, offering immense benefits both psychologically and financially. Once this critical milestone is achieved, the next logical step is to gradually scale up to 3 to 6 months' worth of expenses, a long-term marathon goal. However, this first $1,000 is the indispensable starting line. Michael achieves this rapidly, in just 11 days. He sells an old laptop and a neglected guitar, and when combined, with the consistent savings from Week 2 flowing into his HYSA, he quickly surpasses the $1,000 mark. Week 6. Start investing. The S&P 500. This week stands as arguably the single most important component of this entire 90-day financial reset. If you were to implement just one piece of advice from this entire video, let it be this one. Michael proceeds to open a brokerage account with a reputable firm such as Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, or M1. Any major broker will suffice. His pivotal move is to purchase shares in an S&P 500 index fund. For instance, Vanguard's version trades under the ticker VOO, while Fidelity's is FXAX. They are essentially the same underlying product, just presented by different providers. This singular investment immediately grants him fractional ownership in 500 of the largest and most influential companies in America, titans like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Berkshire Hathaway. Virtually every household name you can imagine. The beauty of this approach is that he doesn't need to painstakingly pick individual stocks, nor does he have to attempt to time the market. He simply owns a diversified slice of the entire market. Following this, he establishes automatic monthly purchases of $400, directly linking back to the automation set up in week 3. The instruction is simple. Set it once, and then for the most part, never actively touch it again. Before Michael considers maximizing his S&P 500 contributions, there exists a singular financial maneuver that surpasses all others in personal finance: the 401k employer match. If Michael's employer, for example, matches 4% of his salary when he contributes to his 401k, this is, quite literally, free money. For someone earning $65,000, a 4% match translates to an additional $2,600 per year, which is also tax-advantaged. This represents an instant, guaranteed 100% return on the money he contributes up to the matching limit. No other investment opportunity in the world even comes close to this immediate risk-free gain. If your employer offers a match, it is imperative to capture every single dollar of it before pursuing any other investment, and in some specific cases, even before aggressively paying down high-interest credit card debt. Michael verifies his employer's policy and confirms a 4% match. He promptly adjusts his 401k contribution to fully capitalize on this match, effectively adding $2,600, his financial trajectory each year, money he was previously leaving on the table. Turning our focus to the S&P 500, observe the phenomenal impact of consistent investing. If Michael were to invest just $100 a month for 30 years, assuming the historical 8% average annual return, he would accumulate $149,000. Increasing that to $500 a month would yield $745,000. And if he invests $1,000 a month, he'd be looking at an astounding $1.49 million. This illustrates the true power of compounding. The initial 10 years often feel agonizingly slow. The next 10 years feel acceptable. But it's during the final 10 years that the real magic unfurls. The vast majority of Michael's investment. This is precisely why initiating your investment journey now is far more critical than the specific amount you start with. Consider this stark comparison. A 25-year-old who invests $200 a month will amass more wealth by age 65 than a 35-year-old who invests $400 a month, despite both contributing the same total amount over their respective investment horizons. The difference lies solely in the starting line. Week 6 is the undisputed engine that builds true wealth. Every other week in this plan serves to prepare for this growth or to protect it. Consequently, Michael's net worth tracker is poised to arc sharply upward for the next 30 years, all thanks to this single pivotal decision. Week 7, increase income. This week introduces a strategy so impactful it directly rivals Week 6 for its potential to reshape Michael's financial future. Traditional wisdom often dictates that cutting expenses is the more secure and dependable route, while increasing income is perceived as uncertain, reliant on luck, and inherently harder to control. However, the underlying mathematics simply does not support this view. Here's the critical distinction. Cutting expenses has an absolute floor. Michael cannot reduce his spending below zero. Even if he were to eliminate every single discretionary expense, he would inevitably hit a hard limit. Income, conversely, knows no such ceiling. Recognizing he hasn't received a raise in 18 months, Michael undertakes 3 strategic actions. First, he diligently researches salary benchmarks for his specific role, across platforms like Glassdoor, LinkedIn, and Levels.fyi. Second, he meticulously compiles a concise, one-page document detailing his significant contributions over the past year, key projects successfully delivered, measurable revenue impact, and any additional responsibilities he's taken on. Finally, armed with this data, he schedules a meeting with his manager. He confidently requests a 10% raise and ultimately secures a commendable 7% increase. This translates to an additional $4,550 annually. Crucially, most people stop their calculations here, simply acknowledging, okay, that's an extra $4,550 a year. But let's examine the real math. That 7% raise doesn't just impact one year, it compounds across his entire career. Michael's salary continues to grow at a modest 3% annually from this newly elevated base, and he continues to negotiate for raises every 2 to 3 years. That single 7% bump alone is conservatively valued at roughly $300,000 in additional lifetime earnings, even before any of it is invested. Now, let's layer on an even more profound impact. Michael intelligently chooses to invest that $4,550 annual raise instead of allowing it to be absorbed into lifestyle creep, and it grows at the historical 8% average for 30 years. That single year's raise alone transforms into an astonishing $565,000. One confident ask can literally be worth $500,000 over a career. And if a direct raise isn't immediately feasible, there are two powerful alternative pathways. First, strategically switching jobs every 2 to 3 years often results in a significant 30% to 40% salary increase compared to merely staying with the same employer. And cultivating a side income through freelancing a high-demand skill, such as coding, sales, or video editing, even establishing a small service business, offers boundless potential. The crucial takeaway is this: there is no ceiling to the financial growth achievable through income enhancement in Week 7, whereas Week 2's expense trimming has an inherent hard limit. Week 8, write down a goal. This week is brief in execution but profoundly impactful. Michael identifies one clear, specific savings goal for the year, meticulously writes it down, and then shares it with someone. His chosen goal: by December 31st, I'll have $10,000 invested and $0 in credit card debt. He then texts this declaration to his sister. This step might sound soft, perhaps even trivial, and something many finance videos would dismiss. However, compelling data supports its efficacy. Dr. Gail Matthews, a psychology professor at Dominican University, conducted a pivotal study on goal setting. Her findings revealed that individuals who write down their goals and actively share them with another person are an astonishing 42% more likely to achieve them compared to those who simply keep their goals in their minds. A 42% increased likelihood for an action that takes less than 5 minutes. This week, admittedly, carries no direct dollar value. It functions as an enabler, much like Week 1. Yet it offers a type of enabling that subtly compounds, enhancing the effectiveness of every other week, defying its essential place in this plan. Part 3. The Optimization. Week 9 forces a critical decision, defining the precise role credit cards will play in your financial life. Here, two common yet fundamentally incorrect viewpoints often dominate. Camp 1 vehemently declares credit cards to be inherently evil, advocating for a strict cash and debit-only approach. Conversely, Camp 2 hails credit cards as a source of free money, promoting their use for every transaction to accumulate points, all while meticulously avoiding interest payments. The underlying truth, however, is that the card itself is not the variable. Your personal discipline is the determining factor. For a disciplined user, credit cards stand as one of the most powerful tools in personal finance. They are instrumental in building a robust credit history, which accounts for a significant 35% of your FICO score. A high credit score translates into tens of thousands of dollars in savings over your lifetime through more favorable mortgage rates, lower auto loan rates, reduced insurance premiums, and in some instances, even improved job offers. Beyond credit building, responsible usage also yields tangible rewards, typically 1% to 5% cash back, or valuable travel points on purchases you would be making anyway. This equates to an easily achievable $15,000 to $30,000 in lifetime savings and benefits. Conversely, for an undisciplined user, credit cards are nothing short of a perilous financial trap. The average American currently carries $7,236 in credit card debt, often at an APR exceeding 21%. This means a staggering $1,500 annually vanishes into interest payments alone, money that simply evaporates. Compounding this, a high credit card balance severely damages your credit score, leading to even higher costs on every future loan. Therefore, Michael implements a crucial personal test. He already possesses a credit card from Week 4. For a trial period of 3 months, he restricts its use to one specific category: groceries. He commits to paying off the entire balance in full every single month. The rule is absolute. If, at any point, he finds himself unable to pay the balance in full, he immediately ceases using the card. Michael successfully passes this self-imposed test, confirming that credit cards can responsibly remain a part of his strategy. If you, however, were to fail this test, it's not a failure in character, it's invaluable data. In such a scenario, the wise move is to switch entirely to debit card usage and reassess your discipline in about a year. Week 10. Track net worth. This week introduces the fundamental practice of regularly tracking your net worth. The calculation itself is straightforward. Simply sum up everything you own, including your savings, investments, any property, and retirement accounts. From this total, subtract everything you owe: credit card balances, student loans, car loans, and mortgages. The resulting difference is your net worth. A common misconception is that net worth tracking is exclusively for the wealthy. In fact, the inverse is true. The earlier you begin tracking it, the more profoundly beneficial it becomes. The universal truth is, what gets measured gets managed. Michael commenced this financial journey with a net worth of negative $2,200. By week 10, his net worth has surged to positive $4,800 and is on a decisively upward trend. Without diligent tracking, he would lack the concrete evidence that his plan is indeed working. With tracking, he gains clear visibility of the slope of the curve, which, in the long run, is the single most important indicator. Recommend tracking your net worth monthly if possible, or quarterly as a minimum. Numerous free templates are readily available. I'll include a link to one in the description. Week 11. The Re-Audit. This week involves revisiting the foundational work of Week 1, but now with a crucial advantage: a baseline for comparison. Michael meticulously reviews his last 2 months of statements, categorizing every expense as before. He then directly compares these figures against the numbers from Week 2, when he initially implemented his cuts. While most of his earlier reductions are holding strong, he observes a subtle yet significant resurgence in food delivery expenses, $120 last month, up from his targeted $40. He promptly plugs the leak. This vigilance is paramount because lifestyle creep is the insidious, silent killer of virtually every financial plan. Studies on consumer spending consistently demonstrate discretionary spending tends to revert to its previous baseline within 90 days, if not actively monitored. Thus, Week 11 serves as an essential protective mechanism, identifying and correcting these financial leaks before they solidify into entrenched habits once more. This week doesn't add new wealth. Rather, it safeguards the wealth that the preceding weeks have diligently built. Week 12, the final week. Michael concludes his 90-day reset by meticulously defining 3 distinct financial goals: 1-year, 5-year, and 10-year objectives. 1-year goal: $10,000 invested and $0 in credit card debt. 5-year goal: $75,000 invested, achieving a 6-figure salary, and saving a substantial down payment for a house. 10-year goal: a net worth of $250,000, attaining significant financial flexibility, including the capability to take a year off if desired. He then translates each of these ambitious goals into a precise monthly savings target and records it alongside his Week 8 goal. As a final critical step, he sets 4 recurring calendar reminders: March 31st, June 30th, September 30th, and December 31st. Quarterly, he dedicates 1 hour to comprehensively review his entire financial ecosystem: his net worth, spending patterns, investment performance, and overall goal progress, making any necessary adjustments. Here's the profound truth often left unsaid: this 90-day reset is effective only if it doesn't actually end on day 90. Without clearly defined long-term goals and a disciplined review cadence, individuals invariably drift back to their financial baseline within a year. This week, therefore, acts as the ultimate commitment device, the essential mechanism that sustains the entire system for the next 3 decades, making the projected $1.49 million growth from Week 6 genuinely attainable. Let's step back and fully appreciate what Michael has meticulously constructed in just 90 days. His net worth dramatically shifted from a negative $2,200 to approximately $5,500. in 3 months, a significant achievement in itself. However, the true narrative lies in the trajectory he has established, built upon the robust systems he implemented, encompassing automation, strategic index investing, substantial income increase, and leveraging his 401k employer match. Michael is now firmly on track to achieve a net worth exceeding $1.4 million within 30 years. This transformation was accomplished by the same person, earning the same starting salary from the same initial financial position. It was all the result of 12 weeks of intentional, impactful decisions. For those curious about which specific weeks contributed most significantly to this monumental shift, here is the unequivocal answer. Week 6. Focused on investing in the S&P 500, fundamentally built the lion's share of his future wealth, accounting for roughly $1.49 million of it. Week 7, dedicated to increasing income, delivered an additional $565,000 from that single raise alone, to mention its compounding effects throughout his entire career. And Week 3, which established automation, served as the crucial multiplier, ensuring that the high-impact strategies of Weeks 6 and 7 actually materialized into action rather than remaining mere good intentions. The remaining 9 weeks, while essential, either contributed smaller direct dollar values or functioned as vital enabling mechanisms, necessary scaffolding, but not the primary engines of wealth creation. This, then, is the authentic math of wealth building. You don't need to execute every single week flawlessly. Instead, strive for excellence in those 3 pivotal weeks and maintain consistent effort across the others. If this video has provided you with valuable insights, please do me a favor and type "compound" in the comments section below. I personally read every one and will like each comment I see. Be sure to subscribe if you appreciate videos that delve into the precise mathematical impact of financial decisions, often discussed but rarely quantified. And speaking of quantification, my next video, linked right here, dissects a common misconception about 401ks that most people completely misunderstand. It's definitely worth a watch. I'm Professor William Miller, and I'll be your guide. I'll see you next time.